Då börjar de.
Ja.
Eller trevlig match.
Noggrann och vass.
Vilken? Trevlig match. Trevlig match. Trevlig match.
Hello and welcome to the Swedish National Challenge here in Sundbyberg's Curling Cup. Today we are playing the second game out of 5, and we'll have, as yesterday, Pantera facing off against Team Hasselborg.
Nej, jag säger
So we'll have Team Pantera. My name is Jacob Hanna, and I am here today with none other than James Drivera. And if you don't know who that is, Google it.
No, don't.
Don't? Okay, let's not.
Good, nice to be here, Jacob. Looking forward to another fantastic game this morning. It's going to be a big one, I think. It was a tight game again yesterday afternoon, and yeah, we're looking forward to a big one today.
Yeah, excited. So we have Pantera starting here today. They have the first stone here in the first end. At lead for Pantera, we have Fanny Sjöberg. At second, we have Jenny Wåhlin. At third, we have Almeda Deval and Isabella Brana skipping the team. And they are, of course, playing none other than Team Hasselborg, who at lead today have Johanna Hedin. At second, have Agnes Knochenauer. My apologies. At second, have Sofia Mobergs. And at third, have Agnes Knochenauer and Sarah McManus skipping and playing fourth today. And we are off.
Yeah, slight change in the lineup for Team Hasselborg today. Johanna Eldin, obviously the fifth player, and towards the end of this season, going in towards an Olympic year next year. Obviously, it's very good to get Johanna involved and get her playing some competitive games.
Definitely.
Jobbar den längre. Lite mer, kom igen. Måste mer, kom igen. Mer. Bra.
lägg den bara 8, Fia.
Ja. Din sten då.
Fin linje. Bra fart. 8. Bara er. Bra linje. 4. 8, 4. Jag har lite plats.
So tell us about the ice conditions and the curl from yesterday's game, James.
Vi behöver jobba
Well,
finare.
it's great curl on the tee draws at the start of the game here. Pantera came up just top 4 foot, and it was a 16-4 hog. So it's really fast, and the stones were scratched at the club on Wednesday. So there's a big curl on the ice, which is great to see. It's curling a lot more than it was in the last time they played.
Definitely, yeah.
So it certainly gives another dimension to the game.
A little bit of grandstand effect, what they say.
Yeah.
8. Ja. 8, 4. Lite långt. Ja, se till att den är här. 8. Bra linje. Ja, vänta.
Ligger bra.
Ja.
So we're seeing a very offensive start to this game. Not much of a traditional hit yet, but actually heading into the house and playing a freeze here right now. The players seem to be very comfortable with the ice surface already.
Yeah, and I think it's great to see as well. Pantera, obviously they won the last series of games back in December, and they won again last night. So it's nice to see that they're taking the bull by the horns and really going for it.
Definitely.
It's definitely a state of intent by putting up a center guard straight off the bat in the game.
Inget på den här linjen. Vi behöver kalla. Inget ut på den här linjen. Bra fart, bara fris. Behöver kalla. Bara fris. Behöver kalla. Den kommer nu. Håll den lite. Håll den. Japp. Järnet. Gå, Agnes. Gå. Det är bra.
Short there, but great for line.
En centi. Okay.
Yeah, slightly short, but it's still in the control zone, and it's good to have it rather slightly shorter than going in too deep there and bumping off the blue.
Nej, alltså jag tänkte om vi skulle, men då måste vi komma lite
Really
hårdare.
exciting first 10 here, really going for it.
Okay. Det känns som att vi kanske bara ska frysa den här insidan. Ja. Ja, eller det. Yes. Jag gillar att spela samma. Ja. Okej. Vi ska ändå överkalla sen. Topp 12. Ja. 20-30.
Trying to freeze the inside here of the yellow stone.
It's always great here when you have the microphones on the players and we get up close and personal here, and you can really hear the fantastic communications of both teams. There's discussion the whole time. It's not actually only when they're sliding out that it's quiet. The rest of the time there's always some communication going on.
Whoa. Ändå går va? 8. Whoa. Herregud. Mer hjälp. Ja. Hjälp. Nej, sorry. Okej. Känns ju något rakt.
Vi kan ju om vi vill bara på något sätt dela upp det lite och trycka.
Ja.
Men då vill man nästan få ner den här en bra bit liksom. De kommer ju ligga skott.
Kan man dela egen? Alltså bara... Ja. Kan man dela övre bara?
Ja, så gör vi den. Då har ju de också den ligga 2 bakom.
Ja. Bara runda där. Jag tänkte också. Och bara dra runt högra.
So much for Saturday morning. Just getting into things nice and slowly here, Jacob. We're all in from the start.
Det var lätt och fint här då.
No rest for us.
Ja. Precis.
Very happy that you are the expert here, having to put in the effort to understand what they're doing.
I have to think this early on a Saturday morning. That's not easy.
Håll i den lite om ni kan. Nej, okej.
Måste vänta.
Vad är den?
Bak 8.
Japp.
Bak 4.
Nej.
Wow.
Nej.
Gärna vänta.
Nej.
Bak 8.
Eka.
Bak 8. Ja,
Eka.
den har mycket fart. Bak 4.
Den kan ha massor.
Ja, helt okej nu. Full 4
Japp.
nu.
Nej. Okej.
So as we mentioned, we have alternate Johanna Adin stepping up to the challenge today and playing for Team Hasselborg here. And other than being the fifth for Team Hasselborg, she also plays mixed doubles. And this season she has teamed up with Daniel who also plays for the national men's team. He is the alternate for Nicholas Adin and also has a very successful juniors team.
That's right, yeah, Daniel, one of the real up-and-coming Swedish stars. He also teaming up and aiming for some mixed double success there. And Johanna obviously had a lot of success with Christian Lindström playing mixed doubles. Christian obviously moved over to Scotland now, coaching Eve Muirhead.
Bra, snyggt.
Oh, that's a cracking shot.
Nice shot.
Yeah, after Jenny missed the first stone there, her first stone of the end, really important to cover up and clear up the mess that was there.
It always feels good to be able
Ja.
to correct yourself after a first missed shot.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's really important as well. You see these top elite teams, when they make a mistake, it's very, very rare that they make 2 mistakes in a row or 2 bad mistakes in a row. And that's
Sets them apart.
sure. That's a signal of a really, really good team that they're on the right track when they're making, covering up any mistakes and then obviously not making very many mistakes in a game.
Gå. Bra Johanna.
By the guard there.
Fint.
Fantastic shot.
Jättebra spel Johanna.
Bra skjuts. Bra liv, Johanna.
And this is obviously another point of great teams is this control of the middle weight between the draw and the normal hit weight. They can hack barrier weight, board weight. For those of you in Canada that are listening.
Playing just enough weight, not adding too much to it.
Exactly, you know, and even though the stones are scratched and there's a great curl, if you're getting up towards a sort of 9-second hog to hog, the stones are going to run a lot straighter. So when you get down to 10s, 11s and 12s, then you can control the curl a little bit better as well.
And it brings the sweepers into it as well.
Sure. And all the girls out in the ice today, hugely well trained. You know, that's a huge part of their daily routines.
Kanske följa med. Ja. Det är bra Liragan.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a pretty big shift in the sport.
Antingen så, eller försöker komma ända dit.
More physically
Jag tror vi
strong.
lirar en 10 här ute.
Yeah, sure. I think that all changed around about 2010, the Olympics there. I would say there was probably 60% of the teams were athletes and the others were curlers. But then from 2014 onwards, you're seeing they're just athletes. Enormously well-trained athletes as well.
Järnet! Hårt för lek kvar i fot! Hårt Erik!
9-2.
Wow. Vick. Ja, gå! Ja.
Really important for them to stick around there and maintain some control of the end here.
Fantastic sweep from Jenny, just proving how strong.
That's right. And I know Jenny and Fanny, they've both competed at the Swedish Championship in bench press, amongst other things. But they're incredibly strong sweeping duo.
Were they both medaled?
They both medaled. That's correct.
Åh, nej. Eka. Vad är det? Ben. Ja. Nej. Ja. Härligt.
That's a cracking shot from Magnus.
Fully buried. Fantastic shot. You know when there's a lot of yes, no, that it's going to be good.
Jag kan nog slå den från utsidan och vicka ut lite. Det kan jag. Typ en 11.
It's behind the tee here, but
Ja, eller om vi ska slå den från insidan.
I'm just listening to what Isabella's saying here.
Eller? Kolla hur det känns från hacket då. Ja. Ser ut som utsida härifrån.
From our vantage point, and we're sitting right in the line with the hack here, Jacob, we can't see anything actually from either side here. So, but the guard is quite high up, so playing with maybe a hack weight, like a heavy back line or a hack weight, you could probably come out and get it, but it could be a bit risky in the first end. Riskable. That's just not an English word.
No, it's not.
It's not. So.
I'll cut you some slack.
It's the first end. Give me some little bit of slack. Yeah, Bella just didn't see enough of that to go at hack weight at it, so they're going to go and just freeze down. It's behind the tee, so.
What would happen in an instance if you played a hack weight and they missed?
Well, it depends how they would miss, obviously, but if you missed wide and just sailed past everything, then they could be looking at losing a 3. So I think this is the safer option. Risk this is going to curl too much, actually. Right.
I think it does peek out a little bit outside of the card.
But I think, and this is kind of almost the same. This is almost the same as missing your hack weight shot here, because Hasselborg's lying 1, and they're going to put one around, just draw around the guard again, put it on top of the 8 foot to lie 2. And that's going to put Wranå in a lot of pressure for a last stone at the end. Interesting to see if you look where Agnes has got the brush. Bella had her, she was aiming at the centre line, and they moved out at least a good couple of inches there. So, be interesting to see if they've learned from Bella's stone.
Vem är det lite, Fia?
Bra linje.
Vem är det lite?
Var med. Ja. Fort. 4.
Janet!
Stenhårt. Hårt. Kör.
Fortsätt.
Interesting that they took more ice and got even more curl there.
Bra satsare.
Seemed to have plenty of weight, however.
Yeah, and they didn't seem to have any. There was no panic about sweeping at the start, so it could be maybe it just caught a spot that just curled a little bit more.
De har ju så att de kan eventuellt nolla, men kan vi försöka ligga kvar med 11. Ta lite mer så spelar vi lite lösa 11,5.
Well, both teams have had some chances in this end, and neither have capitalized. So it'll be interesting if this ends up being a blank or maybe a 1 for Hasselborg, or maybe a steal. Who knows?
The possibilities are endless.
Well, there's 2 or 3 at least.
Mer, ja!
Ja, Micke.
Really important to lie around here and make sure they get the force, which they did.
Ja.
Där hade vi fått
Det började kala så mycket så jag bara...
Ja, alltså både den och dragningen tycker jag ändå att vi liksom lägger upp det som på bunan.
Jag tror inte heller att det är någon större...
Och jag tycker
Ja, verkligen. Jag tror också bara att den typ greppade lite i... Ja. Jag vill spela den liksom bara lite framåt så att den försöker ta där ett tag.
Ja, det är det. Just det, och så rakar det ut sig.
Jag tror det kan bli lite mer tendens som de där grejerna.
Det blir ännu rakare kanske. Det spåret också då sen.
Den är helt ner, fin bana!
Var försiktig på linjen, vänta den hänger!
Bra! Känns bra, 4, 10.
Bara er!
Lägg den 10.
Den går rakt!
Bra för
Den går rakt. 10.
Lägg den 10.
So 15-5 between the hog lines, and the girls are just nursing in gently.
Bra koll.
Bra spel.
Nice finish to the first end.
Bra skjuts.
Tactic first end.
Det känns som att jag har bättre fart ut.
Bra skjuts. Bra snack. Fina scener, Agan.
Samma, jag tycker du lirar.
Eller alla är jättefina. Alla spelade jättefint.
Fan vad ändå den kvalade där utåt. Bra spelat.
Ja, den där bröt verkligen.
Jag känner nästan att det är sådär. För jag tänker på din dragning och träningen. Den kvalade inte så mycket.
Jag tror också det och säkert bara det som var nu.
Ja, för att min hack också, den låg ju här. Den kom ju inte på samma sätt. Den liksom låg kvar. What do you want to do now?
Jag får se vad de placerar, men lägg den typ hakor eller?
Ja, håll det tajt. Bra på banan. Kommer det ner lite den här också eller? Alltså det är lite bra. Den låg ju lite långt fram.
Ja, verkligen.
Den blev 14-4, den kommer ju bara till bite 4. Ja, 54 menar jag. Alltså det kändes som att det inte...
We're now sort of reaping the rewards and seeing
Det var bra fart. På hoggen hade jag mer.
Men jag kom på det lite sent, typ precis som vi skulle börja spela.
Det känns som även om jag får lite snabbt.
Fin linje.
Alltså,
Bra fart!
vi kanske mer ska tänka på bara hålla spåret.
Den hänger lite just nu. Ja, det ser ut att vara här.
Och komma ihåg
Den har råd att greppa lite. Den går nu.
Den är riskin.
Ja, låt den jobba bara. Det är bra linje.
female teams on the way up
Ser
there.
bra ut. Bra. Härligt. Bra koll. Bra tjejer.
They've just started. They're playing a lot of under 16. And
Yeah.
we have junior elite, and then we have obviously Team Wranå, who's pushing themselves into the elite.
Liten linje. Haka emellan.
Bra linjer!
mellan.
Hake! Här någonstans är bra.
Ligger bra.
Känns där ungefär. Hake.
We even have Team Fox right here this weekend doing the timing for us. That's great.
Bra, där är ungefär. Något mer.
Keeping it within the
Bra
family.
spel. Bra. 16-6.
Ja, 6-6.
Bra linje. Topp 4. Fina linjer. Jämnt.
Second end here.
Bra spel Fanny.
Bra linje nu. Bra linje. Har plats nu nästan.
Ja, bite 4.
Agnes. Den går nu. Agnes. Håll i vid den. Japp. Dra den. Lite mer. Kom igen. Gå. Häng. Det är bra.
Det är bra spel.
Oj,
Det kom ner mer.
bra Pia.
This is one
Bra
of the
spel, Pia.
fantastic things watching curling,
Vad sa du?
especially when you see competitive games like this. You feel the
bra.
ebb and the flow, and you know it's not just the battle of position and stones, it's also the mental, the psychological battle. Who's got the
Bra fart, Ricky.
Hålla igång lite bak.
Stopp 8.
Stopp 8.
Amida!
Var försiktig nu.
4, det känns bra.
Låt den kalla!
4. Stopp 4.
10. Här plats.
Gärna kalla alltså! Låt den kalla bara.
Okej.
Dra den på slutet sen.
Okej, topp 4.
Den är helt öppen, måste gå nu.
Gå nu.
Japp, gå nu. Japp. Kom igen. Mer.
Bra snack. Bra.
Har du någonting?
En fjärdedel. Knappt.
Vill du spela den så här? Ja. Gillar ni det? Ja.
Och så bara marginal.
Liraren hack då, Johanna.
Ja. Den får garden för inte åka ut. Tror de lite mer?
Ja.
And Scotland won all those 3 games, and you could just feel the tension building for each game and each stone that was played. It was such a really cool thing to see live. Actually, it was. So if you ever get the chance.
Nej.
Lite mer fart.
Nej.
Fantastic.
Nej, vi behöver jobba massor. Nej, försöker. Låt det jobba.
Ser du med, Tia?
Nej. Vi har snart någonting. Agnes, gå på deras. Gå järnet. Gå. Okej, Johanna.
Bättre så. Det är bra, Johanna. Fin fart.
Det är bra.
Här är skottet. Jag gillar nästan att köra att vi öppnar upp här.
Ja.
Så vi jobbar runt cornern sen.
Yes.
Okej, och vilka corner här då? Eller vilka sådär?
Ja, vilka är en corner?
Ja.
Vad är träffen?
Typ 3/4 lite tunnare än så.
Ja. Men lite utanför den ändå liksom.
Ja! Ja!
Okej.
Bra.
Clear up that center guard situation there, which means it'll keep this slightly simpler this
Bra,
time.
Jenny. Motorvicket till linan är helt okej också.
Ja, har du? Tror du att vi kan göra den? Har du 10 då?
Ja, 10 kanske kan vicka lite.
Gillar du det?
Ja, gillar det.
Ja.
That's right. Sometimes it's just a bit bigger than other times.
Ja, 10. In fart.
10.
10 halv.
Upp. Helt upp. Okej, vi vickar av. Okej, Anna.
Bra fart, Johanna. Vad hade ni på min där?
40 hade jag 38.
Men typ 40 någonting med mig.
Ja.
Slightly up on the weight there, and that gives Pantera a great chance.
Ta bort ett total bakom där.
But like you say, Jacob, you have no way to get into a free card.
Bra fart. Topp 4. Jag tror den kommer komma. Topp 4 till. Bak 4.
Emil vidare. Ja, Amira.
Oj, den bör. 4.
And when it's time to keep going. Yeah, well, it becomes a bit of a stick. You have a feeling that it's not only, the situation on the ice, it can be the feeling about who's playing next. It can be the feeling of, how the ice is running. Is it changed?
Har du någon tid, eller? Jag fick igen.
Jag var mitt uppe och kika.
Before you pull that.
Visar det sjukt, eller? Ja.
Gillar ni den?
Ja. Har du 10 inledet, eller?
Den här ligger, den har 5 centi bakom 10.
Ja. Jag kan tänka mig skjuta också.
Sen spelar den topp 4.
Gillar ni dragningen? Ja. Jag gillar dragningen. Ja, men också. Ja, men lätt på då. Ja.
So Team Wranå, or Pantera as they're known, is their sponsor name. They're getting it as they want it in this end, but corner guard play, and even if they happen to get into some kind of bother here, if there's a great shot here, then at least they're still got the whole need for open for.
Vart är vi? Topp 4.
Har plats just nu.
Ta lite, plats. Ingen dutt på det här. Ingen dutt på det här.
Lägg den 10
Lite dutt. Ja. Behöver kalla. Vi har linje hit just nu.
Vill inte. Måste.
Nej. Jag ser det. Det är förbi.
14-9.
Okej.
We talked a little bit last day.
Sorry.
How important it is to cover
Sidan får plats med till där.
Det är antingen så eller den.
Jag kan gilla andra.
Ja, jag gillar också den. Kör den.
See a couple of half missed shots.
Gärna vara inne så att vi är inne i hela 8.
Ja. For Pantera to make quite an easy 2 here.
Jag tror ni 20 typ, eller? 20-30. Ja, en bra 20. 30 kan vi lätt upp. vi lösa det. Håll i.
Ja, behöver gå kvar tror jag.
Håll i hårt ändå. Känns 10. Topp 8, 12. Jag tror inte jag kan med här. Känns 10.
10 bra. Kolla upp 10.
Vad är det? 10.
Kolla upp.
Topp 8.
Okej, jag tycker det ser längre ut.
Bak 8.
Meet us here. And we're very happy
Bak
about that.
4.
Bara sitt.
So this is the same speed as
Right.
Agnes and Stone, so back to tee, perfect shot.
Den sista topp 8 jag sa. Jag bara, nej, bakåt. Bra koll. Jag var så här, den är lång. 30.
Jag blev lite rädd där.
10,5.
So in this situation, Hasselborg and
Well, lite
Team
mindre.
Hasselborg just has to accept that they're probably going to lose a 2. They have to hope for a mistake. So the best they can do is kind of just hit the stick and trade shots and lose a 2.
10. Ren. Nej. Låt den jobba.
That's obviously a nice thing, and sometimes it can be a bit tricky too because you got to keep your focus. Even
Okay.
the textbook and
Det är bra.
easy shot, you still have to make them. And sometimes, with the way the modern game
Det är bra spel. Det var mycket is här.
Så vi har
you're
ju
so
råd.
focused,
Samma
sometimes
sak,
these
gillar ni det?
Ja, det gillar jag.
require even
Så vi är
more
lite mer sopa.
because they're easy and they should be made, right? So, but all of these girls train so hard, and the open draws and the open hits.
Längre än förra. Helst inget. Bak 8.
Känns ganska lik.
Bak 4.
Vänta då.
Bak 4. 10. Ändå hålla i lite nu. Lite annat spår nu.
Känns ganska lik. Nej, den är där. Ser ut att vara där.
Tror inte
Okej, men
riktigt
nu
där.
hjälp.
So this one's slightly slower than the first.
Lite längre.
Ganska fin nu. Okej, du. 10. Lite
Minst
högre.
ut,
Lite högre.
minst ut. Japp. Men ta bort dubbel. Bra.
Bra koll. Visste inte vart jag skulle ta vägen.
Det här är ju kanon. Får vi upp den dit så har vi dubbel.
Ta där då.
Jag tyckte jag satte in lite utåt, Sara.
Ja.
Jag kan tänka mig att du kommer kalla lite till ändå, men...
The player plays the shot, but it's the sweepers that take responsibility for making sure it's in the right place.
Spela samma fart som man kan.
Gillar du det här?
And that's an important thing as well, to make sure that you trust your teammates and you trust everyone to do their part of the job.
Yeah. And make sure everybody's involved. You always want to have your sweepers on the stone.
Sure.
Japp. Yes. Yes.
60.
Ja. Janet.
Stenhårt! Kör! Det har den! Kör! Det håller den! Kör! Kom igen!
Hårt Janna.
Titta vad det var. Ja.
Nice shot there for Sarah McManus.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, Isabella Wranå has to make the nose hit or slight roll back towards the other side, the left side of the picture as we see here. If she would happen to nose hit this, there could be a risk that there might be a double, maybe a flat double, but
Jag tror också det.
so you're wanting a nose or slightly a roll to the left as we see in the picture here.
Lite center då.
Liten fart.
10.
Ja.
Okay, so they're throwing a 10-second. Translation for all our international viewers here. We know we've got some people in Canada watching and some people around Europe, so welcome everyone.
Bra fart.
And for all the Swedes listening, you have to stick it out with our English.
Great shot. Just what she needed to do right there. Not leaving any double whatsoever.
Eller vill vi vicka, eller ja precis, vicka dit kan vi göra. Absolut. Det kan vi göra.
Halv och vitt då.
Ja. Jag gillar det.
Eller hur?
Ja.
Vilken Sara? Halva på vitt.
Ja.
10-0 på bara.
Ja.
So knowing that they're probably going to lose a 2 here, they're talking about trying
Jag
to
kunde till bara.
Ja.
hit the blue and just roll slightly to the right that we saw in the picture there, and just to make it slightly more difficult for Isabella's last stone.
leave some sort of a potential jam, perhaps.
Yeah, or just and give it. Yeah, ask a little bit more of a question. And make it slightly more difficult. But as we said before, it's mainly about just making sure they don't lose any more than a 2 here.
Det är bra sopat tjejer.
Nicely done.
Nu har vi mer vikt åt mitt håll. 10 eller 11?
10.
Snabba av.
Tror jag bara för jag körde nyss.
Ja.
Här går med lite inbricka. Så det där blir bra.
Nothing out of the ordinary here.
No, just a 10-second hit. 10 seconds between the hog lines. Nose hit, or they have space to roll slightly to the inside here, but. And again, these are routine shots for these girls, but it's an important shot, and it certainly changes the control of the game slightly if they make their 2. So there's a certain level of pressure with these shots.
Especially considering Isabella has to conclude what the team has built for her.
Ja! Wow! Ligger bra!
Yeah, they called a 10-second hit. They played a 10-second hit, and they got it on the nose. 2 points for Team Pantera.
Yes, and that concludes the second end of the second game of the Sweden National Challenge. Pantera playing textbook curling.
Yeah, so far game plan again in this match. They're following their game plan. Get the force in the first end and take 2 in the second. Like you say, textbook stuff. That's take 2 and give 1, and you win most of the games. I'm not the math teacher, but I'm pretty sure about that.
Bra, det känns som att vi så här, vi gjorde vad vi skulle liksom och tog över deras metoder.
Ja.
Känslan är att vi vill komma lite tillbaka här, va?
Ja.
Nej, men vi kör det. Jag gillar det.
Jag gillar nog att vi kan spela 50.
Okay, we see lead for Team Pantera. Fanny Sjöberg.
Bra linje! Hake! Kommer lite långt ut!
Okej, ta plats.
Hake! Hake är bra! Det är lite kortare utan hake!
Jag kan gå.
Jobba in mot centern också!
Yeah,
Trying to carve this one to the center line.
Ja, räcker det.
Yeah, 3 points if you're playing.
Figure.
Yeah, as it's called, points curling. It's I think most countries have some form of points. In Sweden, it's called figure, and yeah, you put a guard on like that, you get 3 points, Jacob.
3 points.
You know that. You've been practicing it this week. Big curl though.
Yes, it really looked like it was hanging.
Det är
But they
bra
managed to
linje.
carve it.
Ta lite plats som något. Plats.
Bajt 4.
Ja, lägg den bara 8 här.
Den är lite längre.
Ja, låt den jobba då.
Den är 4. Nästan 10.
Låt den jobba, den försöker nu.
Ligger 10.
Really curling.
Kan sitta helt 4.
Yeah, they just want this to sit as high up as possible to get control. That's probably about as far as you want it. Not much further than that. Even if it came middle 8 foot, you're really happy. Even top 8 foot is great.
Definitely.
But certainly no deeper than top 4.
No, but fantastic line. It's really amazing that the Swedish Curling Federation has been able to put together this being the second challenge for these two teams, considering that not a lot has happened this past season. So it's awesome for them, these two teams, to be able to play and really get that adrenaline flowing, because they haven't been able to do that on the competition scene this season. Also with the terrible news of the World Women's being cancelled.
That's right, yes. Well, we're hoping it's more of a postponement than a cancellation. There's a lot. I know there's a lot of talks going on if there's any chance to move it to somewhere else. No official announcement about that yet, but obviously that's a really tough pill for Team Hasselborg to swallow. Having got silver in the last 2 worlds and been, really gunning towards making a world gold. I know it's tough for the girls this week, and probably very tough for them as well to get motivated for this series of games, would be my guess.
Kan inte gå. Där bak.
Bra. Härligt.
On the flip side of that, though, you know, this is a huge opportunity for Pantera, like it was in the last series in December, to get some more experience playing against Hasselborg, to also maybe even push their way through a little bit, and you know, show the national coach that we're also here to play and
putting their best foot forward.
Yeah, putting your best foot forward.
And considering they won the last series, they've been doing a lot of that.
There's certainly a fire about Team Pantera. It's quite clear that they've got an intention to win this, try and win this series as well.
Definitely.
That's interesting. That's the third time now Jenny's stones curled that first stone.
Yes.
It's curled a wee bit.
Just as surprised every time.
Yeah, and I'm just starting to wonder if that's if that stone's curling a little bit more than the others. We saw that even on the when she was training for the T draw. That stone came up, pulled up a wee bit shorter and curled more.
Okay.
And that's the third time in a row that that's curled over too much, so maybe that's something they need to address. I know that Pantera have chosen the stone set from Lane C, so they have the 1 to 8 from Lane C, but Hasselborg have chosen a mixed batch of stones from the other lanes here.
Interesting. Have they had the opportunity to match the stones, or is it just from knowing the ring and knowing
a bit of both, but obviously after you scratch the stones you want to just rematch them and just recalibrate and see if everything's still going, but you normally find that even when you scratch the stones, the ones that are have some tendencies or some unusual tendencies, they tend to stick out anyway.
Tell us more about matching the stones here for our not so avid curling watchers.
So you're basically trying to match each pair of stones, so you know what they're doing at least. And there's different ways of doing this. You can think of you basically throw all the rocks down the same line and you see how they react. Sorry, I got kind of sidetracked on what was going on there. So basically you throw all the rocks down the same track and you see if they have the same speed or if they take if they glide longer or if they stop shorter, and you also look at how much they curl, if they go straighter or if they curl more. And often you'll find the ones that you probably have a bunch that are kind of similar, but then you might have one that will either go long and straight or maybe short and curl. That's the general idea. And then once you've done that, you start pairing them up for each player. And different teams do different things. Some teams like to have one of each in each pair. So you have one stone that curls a bit more and one stone that's a bit straighter. Other teams want to make sure that the pairs are as close as you can get to each other. So it's different from team to team.
Great explanation, I must say. It's very evident that you're a teacher.
Yeah, teacher even on Saturdays.
Men det känns som vi kan komma in här.
And talking about teaching, I mean, Jacob, you're in the curling world. You started curling 7 years ago now? 6 years ago? Yeah, so that's pretty cool year, and this is a cool thing for us to do together, because I used to be Jacob's teacher. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi. My beard's getting that grey these days.
Yeah, who would have thought when we came here for the first time with our school, just tried it for fun, that it would stick the way it did.
That's right. And we're happy it did.
Thank you. You are responsible for this monster that you created.
So both teams struggling to find the perfect line and the perfect weight, and we're in the third end now, so the ice might be changing just a shade.
Alltså vi ligger rätt. Vad sa du?
Åker in på chapp eller bara lite vick?
Vi behöver vicken Agga för att det är väldigt enkel dubbel där.
Jag tänker bara om de fryser bort boet för att vi ligger bakom.
Ja, de kan ju frysa det, men alltså Vickar vi bara hit så borde vi kunna få bort den, eller?
Ja, bara vicka öppen.
Vicka bara där då.
Ja.
So obviously Hasselborg just trying to maximise their chance to get a 2 here, and this is the same kind of idea as the last end. Not quite as clear cut with the corner guard being slightly closer to the centre, but same kind of idea now, same concept. Pantera want to just make sure they don't lose any more than a 2, and Hasselborg want to make sure they get themselves in position to make their 2.
Ja!
Wow! Wow! Ren! Nej! Ren! Ja! Mycket starkt! Ja! Ja! Nej! Nej! Ja! 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 Nej! Nej! Bra, Agan. Härligt.
It's also very interesting to see them focus so much on play behind the tee. We don't usually see that a lot.
No. Now that Pantera sort of they hit out the wing and rolled into the centre behind the tee, then obviously they're playing that. But
Nej, vi kommer vara andra steg, men jag tänker den här finns inte.
Ja, yes.
Vi ska tappa 3 om vi liksom inte sätter den.
Ja, jag gillar den. Vi kör den.
They were talking about maybe going.
Men då kanske vi får något att jobba på sen.
Ja, det blir bra.
Jag kommer kunna slå den där i värsta fall sen också.
Ja.
The girls were talking about maybe going for the run back, but the risk is, of course, you miss that, then you're maybe going to lose a 3.
Ja, jag tror det.
Okej.
I think hitting one in the back ring, I'm not quite sure about this decision, because obviously you're only going to be second shot, and that gives Hasselborg a chance to, or Team Hasselborg a chance to reposition themselves and get even better position.
Jag ser mjuksatten. Ja, mjuksatt!
Wow, wow.
So slightly defensive call here.
Wow,
wow. 10.
What do you feel you would have played in your instance? Perhaps a draw around everything?
No, not a draw. I think there's a couple of options. Either you play the blue run back, or you go around with a hack weight and try and get the yellow in the top 8. Because that's the one that's causing the biggest trouble, because that's line shot.
Vill spela lite mjukare eller samma, Agan?
Jo.
Jag gillar samma.
Ja.
So Pantera just needs to try and find a way to get out of losing a 2 here.
Var lite mer.
Considering that they're trading hits right now as well, they'll be working themselves up the house. So if Pantera was to play it again, they would be shy.
That's correct, and I think maybe that's what Pantera is looking at now, that if Agnes makes a nose hit here, could be a chance to flop in behind and lie shot.
Nej, sorry, Agan.
Det är bra.
Sorry. Det är bra spel. Sorry.
But I think that's a really much better to actually roll slightly to the side there. That's going to pretty much secure there too. I think that was Pantera's chance with the last shot, with Almeida's last shot there to get themselves out of this end. But now that it's set up like it is, it's going to be 2 for Team Hasselborg. Team Hasselborg minus Hasselborg, can we say today? So Anna's at home with her family this morning. If you're listening in, Anna, look forward to seeing you later on today. And obviously Johanna Heldine's in playing, getting some games in with the team, which is great to see.
Isabella Browner here with the double. Probably wouldn't want her to roll out there, but still a fine result.
I think they were, not quite sure if they want to stick around there. I think even if they'd played that double and stuck around, then Sarah's basically just drawing down to making the same draw.
Yeah.
Just they would have been backing. So I think the call there was to actually roll off, just to make sure there's no backing. So make sure you're not going to make any mistakes and lose a 3. And for some it might be a bit counterintuitive to try and roll off when you're going to lose a 2 anyway, but again it's this risk against reward and not wanting to lose a 3. That wouldn't be good at all.
That's why you're the expert.
Ganska mycket framåt.
Bra linje.
Bak 4.
Ni kollar ganska lugnt. Gå ganska rakt än så länge.
Bak 4.
Remember, this is the same spot they were playing in on the first end, actually, when they were drawn round. This is going a lot straighter. This is more like the line they were looking for in the first end.
Ha mycket koll lite nu. Härligt Sara. Bra koll tjejer. Jättebra skött.
Bra skött, härligt. Bra.
Ja. Det känns som att jag liksom, det går ju inte med en lös. Jag måste ju ställa lite ja. Lite insida med en inhända.
Ja.
Team Pantera alting for a bit of a
Kanske inte går.
circus shot here with a cross-house roll.
Well, it's the same thing as the last end. They know they're going to they're probably going to lose a 2 here, so it's just as well to go for a bigger shot. They're going to play a clearing weight here and try and get quite a flat roll all the way into the back of the 8 foot to make it slightly more difficult again. If they roll off, then Hasselborg's drawing for a 2 anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But and even if they played like a nose hit, then they're losing a 2 anyway, so they might as well go for it.
Fan sa du det? Jag vet inte vad som hände.
That was unfortunate.
Ja, den gick väldigt härligt.
We were about to ask each other what happened.
Yes.
The girls out in the ice are asking themselves what happened. No one knows what happened, so that's a massive mistake by
Det var ju ett nice spår.
Ja, det kändes väldigt bra.
Isabella with her last stone, and
Ni gillar samma va? Ja.
now a free chance for Team Hasselborg to take control of the game.
Sarah getting to do what all skips dream of here, playing the same shot twice.
That's correct, and with these 2 great sweepers, there's
Känns hårdare, men...
Lite rakare.
very little chance you're going to miss this.
Ja, lite längre.
Don't jinx it.
I'm going to say, I better not jinx it before she lets it go.
Det är ingen rygg. Ingen rygg.
Kommer ner lite.
Det kommer mycket nu. Ja, den har snart rygg.
Ja, den är nog lugn.
14-7.
See, what did I say?
Härligt Sara.
I did actually have a moment of being worried there that I did jinx that shot, but
Yeah, they did call it heavy out of her hand.
Jättebra, ni är fin.
Commentator's curse.
Alltså satan vilken skillnad. Jag gav den här.
but that's also good sweeping as well. You know, a good sweeper is not one that just sweeps all the time. It's a good sweeper who knows when to sweep and when not to sweep.
Men den fick
So that concludes the third end. It's 3 for Team Hasselborg.
And you know, that's a huge turnaround now. Obviously Hasselborg takes the lead by 4-2. And if we think through the mathematics of this, if Pantera would take the 2 again, that means that Hasselborg's got the hammer back and going into the second half of the game. So
I thought you didn't say you were a math teacher.
I sometimes go into the math lesson just to listen, but I can count to 5. You know,
That's good.
yeah, work hard on that.
Good for you.
Bra, så vi får en nice paus.
Working on counting to 10 next week. So it'll be interesting to see if they go into the top 4 here, going into the 4th end before the break, or if they're going to go put the guard on and try and force Pantera to taking a 1 here.
Ja, bara er. Ta borta.
Obviously, the idea is you want to have the last stone in the even ends.
And why is that?
Well, if you work that through as well, again back to the mathematics here, Jacob. If you have the last stone, the even ends, then you're controlling it until the last end of the game is what you're basically after. So this could be what they're thinking here: throw in top 4, let Pantera chase, and then either you get an easy steal, or you might get the force of the 1.
Bra Pia.
And look at you being psychic. They did just that.
Jag tycker att den är där ändå.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of curling. I don't know if it's about being psychic.
Bra linje.
Bra, hake. Nu bak, hake nära. Hake mellan blocken.
Se lite längre ut. Se lite längre ut.
Hake. Bara stanna. Lite längre.
See the mood lifting here for Team Hasselborg a bit.
Yeah, it seems to have. The girls having a laugh on the hike there, which is nice to see. It's been a bit tight for them, especially losing, yesterday, and obviously losing the last series of games, that, you know, it's never fun to lose, and you know, I don't think the competitive types that they are, I'm not sure that they're you know, overly happily losing.
Of course not. But tell us a bit about that balance, because sometimes being too serious doesn't really help your game.
No, it's about finding that golden balance. It's tricky. It's like the holy grail of any curling team, trying to find the balance between having the focus, but it's impossible to focus during a 2-hour game all the time. It's about doing your best, but it's about not being too uptight. You see it so many times that teams that get too uptight, their level of play goes down quite often. And then obviously the teams that don't take it seriously enough, you know, they can play well for a while, but then when it really comes down to it, they're too relaxed in their mindset. So it's that tricky balance of being focused enough, but still having fun out there.
And what are you doing out there if you're not having fun?
Exactly, you know.
Bra. Och den ligger total-linad också, Fanny. Bra jobbat.
Bra, Fanny. Jättefint boll. Bra skibbat.
So that's a nice shot as well. Fanny's been training a lot with these tick weight shots, and played a couple cracking ticks last night in the last end of the first game, and again moving off that centre line guard, getting a couple of corner guards up. That's a fantastic weapon if you've got that within your team.
Definitely.
And any of you youngsters out there listening, if you play lead, then it's certainly something you should be training hard. The tick shot gives you a lot of different options.
Yeah, but it really does set you apart from the players, having that in your repertoire.
It's the equivalent of going out and, you know, if you go out and play golf and you don't have your putter with you, it makes the game a bit trickier. If you have the tick shot, then, you know, it gives you a lot more options. And maybe putter wasn't a good
I was just about to say, I don't play golf, but I'm just sitting here nodding and smiling like I do.
You should play. It's good.
No curler is complete without golfing season.
Correct. That was the next thing I was going to get you into, golf.
Det kan gå fel.
So it looks like they're going around the corner guard with this one. They're leaving the centre, which is a pretty aggressive call, I would say. They've got their corner guard set up, so this is going to be really interesting to see where this end ends up. A little extra check of this stone. This is the one we talked about that might have been curling just a little bit more. Looks like they've got good control about this one. Oh, interesting, that one didn't finish that much. So that was 16 seconds between the hog. It's fast on that track.
Very fast.
Lightning. Fast.
Det är ganska lugn curl här. Ja, 12-4 var den förra, hon spelade där i andra. Ja, jag gillar det.
So remember in the second end, Joanna had a similar shot, which changed things in that end, which opened up the possibility for a 2, and really important to make this one at a kind of hack weight. Slightly up on this one, more board weight than this one, or barrier for those of you in Scotland.
On and off on this one. Looking pretty good.
I really want to stick around if they can here, which they do.
Ooh, that grabbed something.
Yeah, obviously Johanna made that compensation from the first end where she missed the hack weight shot. Really nice shot from Johanna there.
Pantera here opting to ignore everything in the middle again and just go for their draw, play their game, stick to their game plan.
So they've decided they're going all in for their 2 here. Obviously when they have the hammer, they're going for it, which is great to see.
Really waited on this one.
This one's got a much better line.
Wow, nej.
Lite långt. Bra linje.
Inte, den får inte bli sämre. Ja, bra där.
Okej, bra snack.
Alltså antingen så drar vi där bara för att stänga.
Ja.
Eller om vi bara vill försöka trycka den här, ligga 2.
Jag tycker det känns som att vara runda där alltså.
Ja, här då.
Är topp 8, räcker det eller?
Ja.
Full upp på topp 8. Alltså jämnhöjd eller lite nedanför?
Ja,
Ja.
jag gillar det.
So tell us about this call. Why not put more stones in the middle?
Yeah, they were discussing that if that was an option. The risk going around the centre guard, though, is if you get it wrong, then you're opening up for quite an easy 2 or leaving an easier double for Pantera. It puts a little bit more pressure on yourself. You have to make your shot perfectly. This shot Agnes is playing now, you have a bit more space for error, both in line and also in weight. So they're just coming down and making sure that Pantera don't have their chance. They're trying to basically nullify the end for Pantera.
Japp, dra lite. Japp. Okej, det är bra.
Great choice of words. Nullify.
I'm digging deep in my vocabulary of English words and trying to remember them all. Obviously, been living in Sweden now for 20 years. It's it's good to speak some English.
Vi kan ta och fundera på det. Vi tar en time.
Ja.
So time out here.
And we have Team Pantera's coach now heading down to the ice. Margareta Sigfridsson.
Yes.
Den är inte helt liksom...
Former Swedish champion, European champion, world
silver medalist.
World silver medal. I was getting to that. I was building up to a crescendo, Jacob. You broke it.
Borde vi kunna få lite utskyddat de här?
World silver medalist and what else has she done?
Well, she got the Olympic silver.
Well done. There you go.
Ja, men för då kan vi ta bort...
I got ahead of myself a bit there.
Ja, exakt.
Ja, så du får ju ut dem lite i alla fall. Om du träffar... Alltså jag tror att om du träffar här, alltså lite tjock halv, då kan du få båda flytta sig hit kanske.
Ja, bara lite.
Ja. Men det som är att då får vi den här lite mer öppen, vi får bort den där skotten, den här kommer ju ligga gömd där bak förmodligen.
Jag gillar den här.
Jag tror, spelar ni för hårt så kommer den rulla fram.
10 är för hårt.
Alltså om ni spelar hårt så kommer den nog rulla fram, men det gör jag ju inte.
Alltså jag är tveksam på det om vi träffar utsida faktiskt.
Yes. Vilken fart är vi?
Jag tänker för att vi ska få rätt träff så är det nästan att vi måste köra. Och ifall vi rullar hit då, så är det ändå att vi liksom, då ligger vi inte... Ja, men så vi får bort garden också.
Med clearing, ja.
Ja, jag gillar det. Spela lite lugnare clearing.
So timeout over. And they're looking at moving those 2 guards. So this was the tick shot that Fanny played and rolled over, and Isabella made the comment straight after. Perfectly lined up there. Well done.
Jag gillar tjockhalv ungefär.
So now they're looking at playing this run back. It's lined up nicely for them, and they also want to move the both those guards out. So the blue stone that's closest to the rings are going to go in and lie shot, hopefully after this, and then the other guard's going to move over slightly and open up the yellow.
Ja, men bra där. Sorry. Ja, men det finns det.
Not exactly the hit they were, or the...
It wasn't far away. They wanted to hit slightly more on the outside just to get the a slightly better angle on the to get the jam basically to run the blue stone out onto the yellow top 4. But yeah, great shot, opens up, and it gives them a couple of more options at least.
Ta lite mindre bara.
Bra linje. Håll i den lite. Bra linje.
That shot really changes up the end and the stone placement in the house.
Yeah.
But this one's really important that they get this in. This one looks a little bit short, and it's going to start to take the curl now, which takes obviously the weight off the stone.
Okay.
So from having complete control of the end, now things turn around quickly.
Yeah.
Vi måste
Definitely if they're able to.
Det är väl om vi står så är väl helt okej också. Lämna dem vilken det kanske är lättare. Men spela typ en 10 då.
Ja. Vill jag inte spela en inifrån eller?
This is almost one of these figure like we talked about, the points game. The in-wick. I think maybe that's what Almeida, she's been watching us playing figure. She goes, I've seen this before somewhere.
You hit and rolls to the forfeit.
Really,
in-wick as we now should call it.
That's right, yeah. It's really important to get the roll here and not just lie in front of the other one. Otherwise, Hasselborg has a pretty straightforward double.
Yeah.
So if they want their 2 here, they're going to have to get the roll.
Japp. Kör en lång. Wow.
And they want to go long, but they don't want to go too long, and that's about perfect.
Så där kan man göra. Det var ju faktiskt ännu bättre. Bara att jag tänkte att den var lite svår att gå på, men när vi gjorde den bara fastnade.
Isabella sounded a bit surprised there that it turned out, she was pretty happy with how it turned out, but that was the absolutely best result they could have in that shot.
Absolutely.
Jag gillar det. Bara choppen här då. Eller lite vick.
No double there.
Jag gillar det. Jag kan spela
No double there.
No double there. And again, we're back to, for the 3rd end in a row. Okay, can we get out of losing a 2 here? But obviously the draw around with Agnes's last stone was really important to get into last second shot. And this again, the risk and the reward of what you go for. It's really important to make it so you don't leave the opportunity for the opposition.
Japp. Järnet. Hela vägen, Anna. Hela vägen. Hela vägen.
Gå. Kör. Håll den.
Sorry.
Okej där.
Bra sopat.
Från Anten. Bara liksom helt 4 känns det jättebra. Ja. Vad tror vi här då? Där någonstans eller?
Ja, det här tror jag är bra.
So even if this is a pretty straightforward draw for Isabella with her first stone in the 4th end, really important to get the position of this correct. If you happen to go slightly long on this, maybe even get down onto the button, then Hasselborg, or Team Hasselborg, has a chance of getting themselves out of this end by coming down and playing a freeze.
Definitely.
So even this is a straightforward draw and they've got the whole house to draw to, it's incredibly important to get this in the right position.
Considering also there's a stagger up front, so it's not like they can run anything back.
That's correct. So you want to look at, top 4 foot here, I would say is probably the best place. You go top 8 foot, Sarah might be tempted to try and get one back of the 4 foot with her last stone.
Can they carry this all the way?
16 between the hog lines, so it's pretty. They've controlled this nicely.
Calling it top 4.
That's a great shot, but it definitely leaves the chance here, or it's going to certainly ask the question, do you want to go around and freeze this, or do you just want to hit the back one and lose a 2? What would you do, Jacob?
Well, because I don't know. No, I do very much know. I would definitely draw.
Men det är ju där det
You would definitely
draw.
You would draw.
Yep.
And they're throwing the hit.
Yep. That's why they're the world champion. They're Olympic gold medalists, and I'm not.
Om ni vickar? Nej.
Vi behöver chappen, va?
Ja, alltså annars blir det ju draget, men...
Ja, nej precis. Den tycker jag känns lite trång där.
Alltså vi är fortfarande skottet på att dra hit.
So they're discussing it now, interesting enough.
Ja, men jag tycker att alltså, de har fan bra tap-möjligheter också, eller?
Ja.
To be honest, it feels. Oh, there it is. There it came. I knew it was going to get at some point. I knew it was going to get some Swedish in there. To be honest with it, being in the 4th end, this is a situation where you want to look at the scoreboard. They're 2 up, they've got control back of the game. If they went for the draw and missed it and you lose a 3, then you're just giving control back again. So this is the, even though it's tempting, this is the smart shot to play. You lose a 2, you've got the hammer into the 4th, going into the 5th end. Definitely the smart shot to play.
And she executes it perfectly.
She executed it better than my Swinglish, that's for sure.
40 på förra. Är det helvit typ? Är det helvit?
So for the third in a row, we've got a draw for multiple points.
I'm
gonna go out with you in the...
Isabella needing full 8 foot here, getting to draw the same path.
Sorry?
Same throw, 16-1 actually between the hog and the last end, or the last shot. Let's see what we get here.
Ligger fint, samma linje. Bak 4.
Curlar!
Okej, bak 4.
Den curlar!
Calling it back 4 right now.
Ligger bra ändå.
Looks like they've got good control of the line, good control of the weight.
Ligger bra.
15-4 in the last one here.
Ja, gå.
Oh, did that take something there?
That really curled. Just enough, however.
So 2 points.
Yes.
And an even game, another even game. This is great curling.
I know. So that concludes the first half of our second game here of the Sweden National Challenge. Our second game of 5 in total, playing 4 traditional format and 1 skins games.
That's correct. And as the Union of Curling Commentators states that fourth end break, that means a coffee break for us, Jacob.
Yep.
We'll be back in a bit.
Vart har vi våra... Är det här borta eller?
Ja, men bra comebackat efter en liten konstig omgång. Ja, och sen jag brukar vi inte missa en clearing jättemånga gånger heller. Jag spelade ju också. Exakt samma clearing. Hake.
Ja.
And we are back with some more action from the Sweden National Challenge here, playing the 5th end. The teams have had some opportunities to eat some snacks and talk with their coaches.
And one of the other things that fantastic about this curling club, apart from the teams, the ice, the stones, you know what that is, Jacob?
Tell me.
The coffee.
Yes.
Great coffee here at the club. So if you're ever in Stockholm in Sweden, come by, have a cup of coffee.
It's fabulous.
So back at it again. Pantera throwing up the corner guard. Sorry, the center guard. Yeah, that's the center, isn't it?
Vänta lite.
That's the center.
Ja, vänta lite.
I've always wondered about that.
Låt den
But you're
jobba,
the expert. I won't question.
Låt den jobba.
It wasn't on the center line technically, so it was more like a corner.
Det går lite nu.
Ja, den kom. Men
Agnes, om du kan
Den är
någonsin.
topp 10.
Okej.
Kan inte gå.
Nej, det ser ut som att han jobbar.
ja, den gör det.
Kom då.
Nu går den.
Ja, 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 ja.
Lite till.
Bra.
Bra fart.
So tell us here, why isn't Hasselborg putting up a corner here? Why are they playing
Vi antingen ska dra
to the center of the house?
Yeah, it could be the case that this is the 5th end, and they're wanting to maybe keep it nice and maybe slightly more simple in this end, try and go for the blank, which will mean that they'll have the hammer. Theoretically, they'll have the hammer in the 6th and the 8th. So if they get the blank in this end, that will mean that they would have two hammers in the last 3 ends, which gives them obviously a mathematical chance. We're talking a lot about mathematics today, but a statistically better chance of winning the game.
It's not called chest on ice for nothing. Nice shot.
We actually talked about that last night about chess on ice and how it's. You know, chess, obviously you control the pieces and you know where they're going to go, but here the difference, you know, there's so many more variables. There's the ice, there's your teammates, there's the sweeping, there's you know, it might get a bit of scrap, you know. I've never seen a chess piece pick up, for example.
I've never seen a chess player put a tile on D4 and putting it on B2, so there is a difference there as well.
Yeah, there is a huge difference. So there's a lot of different factors, I think, and you know, obviously the chessboard doesn't change in
halftime.
It doesn't change if it's a slower, faster, curl more, curl less. It's standard. So I would actually like to say that curling is a much more advanced sport than chess.
Cheeky.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be people out there that disagree, but there's a lot more human variables. Let's put it that way.
Mr. Fisher, your head out.
That's correct. Bobby Fischer, you know that.
Yeah.
You know your stuff, Jacob. You're the expert in chess, obviously. 70s chess players.
9-2.
So Hasselborg, Team Hasselborg here, obviously getting their will here, and they're gonna get rid of the guard and go for the blank end, like we talked about, and that was why they drew around the centre.
Yep.
A little bit surprised that Team Pantera haven't pushed a little bit harder in this end to get the force, being the 5th end. Playing a little bit into the, tactically playing a little bit into the hands of Team Hasselborg here.
Perhaps that's a bit part of the momentum shift that we could see in the 3rd end, where Hasselborg took a 3.
That's right, and that's why it was such a huge miss. Actually, an open hit, you don't miss those.
No.
And yeah, that was a huge turning point, and especially if they get the blank here, then that is the turning point in the game. And it was certainly the case that Pantera had control of the first half of the game, and
Yeah, most certainly.
until that 3.
Bra.
Bra som 60.
It's actually the first end that's been a bit more open play. All other ends have been they've been going at it.
So as we mentioned, there is not a lot happening this season for these players, but also for the junior players. And considering I have Mr. NGCT sitting next to me, what does that mean for you and the tour, being the president?
Yeah, it's been tough season for everyone, obviously, and really sad to see that not hardly any games going on anywhere, especially for junior players. But I can drop in a wee. What do you call it? Like a cliffhanger maybe or something, eh? We like doing that at NGCT, yeah. So some news about summer camp coming up in the next couple of weeks. So for those of you out there that follow us on the social media and whatnot, stay tuned for that. We'll be coming out with some info about summer camp. Obviously, this season's all done and dusted. Basically, there'll be no more events, but we hope to get back and get ourselves going again next season.
Exactly. The fact that there are no competitions is not an excuse to stop developing as a curler, and it's very important for juniors to stay active and participate. And I think it's summer camp being a great way to do so.
Yeah. And we've got a big lineup coming up. No, I don't want to drop anymore. That's enough. That's enough. It's a big lineup coming up. That's all. But talking about keeping active and stuff, what have you done, Jacob? You're quite young in your curling career. 6 years in now. What have you been doing this season to try and keep yourself active and keep developing, like you talked about?
Well, other than multiple mental breakdowns, I have been hitting the gym a lot, trying to focus on the mental aspect of the game and trying to learn a bit more about the tactics of it. As I feel like it's very important for junior players to be able to understand what's happening on the ice and not just be able to execute the shots. Because you can play a fantastic game and have fabulous technique, but if you don't have the tactics behind it and the strategy behind it, you can lose simply on that, even though your execution is terrific.
That's correct. I think the balance between those two, or the different parts of it, with the physical fitness, it's about keeping everything in balance and making sure you have some kind of balance between the physical part, the psychological part, the tactical part.
How many times have we said balance today?
It's all about balance. You know what happens if you don't have balance?
You fall.
That's correct. You fall over.
Yep.
Routine shot for Magnus here.
Now that's one of the things we've been doing with the junior curlers at the club here in Sundbyberg. We've been working with looking at older games, and analysing games, and looking at how you can analyse games. So it's not just about watching the game for the pure enjoyment of just watching a game of curling. It's also trying to look a little bit more analytically at the whole thing and breaking it down into terms of position of stones, where you want to be, player against player, how to analyse that, look at statistics.
School, pretty much.
Yeah, back to school. So even though it's a pandemic and it's terrible, like you say, there's still lots of things to be done, or you can do, to keep yourself in good shape for next season.
There's a will, there's a way.
That's correct. We actually even talked about we had a digital game lined up against a team in Aberdeen, Tom Brewster's son and his team, but unfortunately the second wave came along and we had to shut down. But we were talking about having a game online where one of our teams plays in the club here and we play against the team in Aberdeen, and we position the stones and we do it online. It would have been a really cool thing, so hopefully we get to do that before the end of the season. But
that's fun, because that gives you the opportunity to play against teams you probably would never play against anyways.
That's correct. And we actually did a test earlier in the season between we had Tia Orafjord and Daniel Magnusson in Karlstad, and they played a couple of ends against Jonathan Wieland down in Copenhagen, and it worked really well. It was a really cool experience, I think, for everyone.
Make sure you patent those ideas.
I'm not in it for the money, Jacob. So getting down to the nuts and bolts of the end here, it's been pretty easy going. Pantera's just going to throw one in now and going to put it down to Sarah and see if she can make the clear with her last stone for the blank.
Would you say it's rather usual to have more of a first end and an open and a hitting end after the halftime break, just because the surfaces may have changed after stepping up the ice for a little bit?
Sometimes what you see in the after the break, if they use the mat and whatnot, it tends to sometimes you see the lead throwing it a bit too deep. It's quite often you'll see a guard slipping into the top 12 foot or a top 4 foot sliding the back of the 4 foot. But this wasn't the case in this end, right enough. So it was. I got distracted there. I'm not quite sure what the question was, but yeah, no, I think it's more normal to see an open first end than an open fifth end. And as we talked about at the start of the end, Pantera maybe wanted to push a little bit harder in this end to get the force.
Yeah, it is very critical now, being in the second half of the game, just to have the hammers in the even ends, because it's in the second half of the game that you win it.
That's correct.
That's the fifth end for you. Players banking some time. We are, of course, using clocks here.
Yeah, both teams were right on the limit actually at the fifth end break. They have 30 minutes thinking time, and both teams were around about 15 minutes. So, like you say, this is the first end that's been a little bit easier, or a bit more simple, a bit more open curling. And this is also the beauty of the sport of curling that we all love, how it builds up towards the last couple of ends, and you can see both the tension building up, but also the pressure. Each shot becomes more and more important.
In your own words, crescendo. If you
crescendo, there you go. It's a beautiful word. All right, so sixth end here.
Lakey.
Not quite sure what that. We'll need to check that one out afterwards. Lakey.
Perhaps that's a bit of a Tyler Tardy, minty fresh kind of thing.
Okay, I'll take your word for that one. So sixth end on now. And it looks like they're going for the centre guard, which means that this could be game on. And it'll be interesting to see if Hasselborg go for the corner guard here, or if they go around the centre again. My guess is they're going to go corner and go for their 2 in the 6th. Yep, so the corner's going up.
Låt den jobba lite i linje.
Ja, kan vänta lite med fart också.
Ja, nära. Den behöver komma ut.
Ja, den är riskin.
Okej. Kanske. Ja, den försöker nu. Allt i Agnes.
Ja. Det kan inte gå någonting. Den
börjar på bra bana.
Den är snart framför.
Ja.
Den är verkligen puck.
Skulle väl ha drutan lite. Ja, helt okej. Sorry. Bra. Det är bra. Det är nog lite mycket is också, Pia.
Bra, Sofia.
Jag är lite för hård för att jobba med.
So, considering that we're now in the 6th end and that we're nearing the end of the game, what are the goals of the end for the respective teams? What will be the keys?
So, great question, Jacob. So the team...
Ja, det är lite lång. Gärna vänta lite.
Ja, bara vänta då.
Säkra vi. Hake.
Wow. Vänta in. Wow. Bara du tror nu.
So Team Pantera are looking to go for the steal here, or to get the force for sure, and obviously Hasselborg is going to go for the 2. Or more. But really important, both teams are going to go hard for their tactic for this end. Interesting position of guard here as well for Fanny. It's cutting off their route around the corner guard. So pretty good position of that centre guard, which is forcing Team Hasselborg around the centre. So I think we're going to see a pretty aggressive end here, with both teams trying to get their goal for the end through.
Amping it up a little bit.
Yeah, really amping it up.
Fin fart. Ja, ni har lite plats. Plats. Det rör sig som att den är het.
Okej. Ja, då är den längre. Den är 10 bak 4.
Sarah saying the stone's a bit hot.
Den går massa nu, Agnes. Den går massor.
They said 14-8 on the hog time. They let it sit. So the stones are starting to fudge down a little bit into the slide path in the middle there.
What is the slide path for those of us who don't know?
So the slide path is it tends to be where most of the stones are getting played, and the pebble tends to wear down slightly. It tends to be more in the middle of the ice.
Where one slides.
Where one slides, and also where the stones are mainly sitting. Most of the time, it's towards the centre. But you see, obviously, when the player's sliding out there as well, the stones are going over that path that is towards the middle of the sheet, and that's when it starts to get a little bit fudgier towards the end of the game. This is the big challenge for ice makers to find the balance. We've said balance. There we go. We have the balance in there. But to find the balance between having the ice quick at the start of the game, but not too quick. But make sure that it holds the whole game.
Antingen så gör vi den nu eller så går vi på att vi vill ta dem.
Jag kan gilla vilka.
A bit of a coffee drinking game for you guys at home.
So here we're in a real interesting tactical decision here.
Gillar det? Ja.
Så marginal vilka längre då?
Sarah was talking about maybe clearing the guards. They had a chance to clear the guards there, but the team seem to be pretty decisive. They want to go for the hit and roll in behind and go for their two here. Take the bull by the horn.
Försiktigt! Nej! Låt den jobba!
Ja, säkert!
Låt den jobba! Nej, vi ligger utsida.
Gå på blå då. Sorry.
Okej.
Bra fart, jag har fart.
Not what they wanted there.
Mycket i, sorry. Tyckte du spelade den bra. För jag trodde det skulle...
Interesting feedback from Sarah McManus there, that she thought that Johanna played the stone well. Just Sarah gave maybe a little bit too much ice there, and or maybe just floated it slightly. Definitely didn't get the result they were looking for. And again, real momentum change here, especially if Jenny can get the hit and roll here.
Vänta. Bara vänta. De är... Wow.
Vänta. 10,5 snart.
De är snart. Nej.
Oh, that's a cracking shot by Jenny.
Shot. Key for the end. It just turns back in a little bit there at the end.
And now we see Sarah direct changing up the tactics here and trying to remove both of the guards and maybe even getting one in the house. Triple clear here. Here's the call for Johanna Heldin in our second shot.
Yep. Ja! Fia! Nej! Fia.
Ja.
Just past everything in the house. They really managed to drag that away from the center line with the sweeping there.
Yeah, a little bit tight on the, I think just tight in the line there, and just didn't quite get it back out in the line. And we talk about missing the shots on the pro side or the amateur side, and that was definitely the wrong side to miss that shot on.
Så ligger det bättre.
Okay.
Yeah, does it change?
It was close to being okay,
yeah.
But it ended up being disaster's a bit much to say, but it wasn't a great shot. It certainly gives
a bit of a kerfuffle, if you will.
Kerfuffle. There's another word. Yeah. For those of you that are not here, Jacob's sitting here with his dictionary.
They're in a bit of a quagmire.
Jag tänker för att om vi gör någonting här nu så kan vi liksom aldrig, då får de en TT som är så jävla gimmig så att det inte finns.
Jag förstår.
Men det viktiga är att vi måste våga komma insida och att den här trycks ut helt inte i hela världen.
Ja. Spelar det som en dragning då? Typ?
Ja, jag tycker vi spelar den med en typ 14.
Ja, det är nog precis igenom typ.
Ja, men om du får halvträff på den, då finns det ju ändå chans att den sitter där.
Ja, vi kör på
det. Det är
det.
som sagt inte det viktiga.
Ja.
Jag tror vi kör någonstans här.
So they're talking about trying to play, actually just removing their own stone. They realize that this is a danger stone for them, so they're going to try and remove their own one, just push it out and roll in behind the center guard and lie 2. They're seeing this one as the danger stone, even though it's one of their own stones, and they're looking to remove it from play. They see that as obviously the biggest threat to them in this end. And that is a couple of cracking shots from Team Pantera, really turning the screw here in this end.
Fantastically done, and just the perfect weight, really.
Yeah, that couldn't have been played any better than they did. So now really important, again, like we talked about covering up for mistakes, this is really important for Agnes to move things around here, to open up, to at least get their one.
And move around stuff she can.
It's a nice shot from Agnes, not perfect, she was hoping to roll off the centre line there, but at least it clears the guards up a little bit. But the problem is they're still behind the 8 ball here, Team Hasselborg. If Pantera whips another centre guard round between the yellow and the blue, as we see in the picture there, then it's going to be status quo and the same problem again. And if we move this forward to the end, then Sara doesn't have much to draw to for her one.
Bit of a cat and mouse game right now.
Well, you see, I mean, if we back it up a little bit, Team Hasselborg went for the more aggressive call with Johan Heldin's first shot, and that's fine if you make it, you know. But if you're missing them, then you're putting yourself in trouble. So nice shot. Leaves a slight angle again for Agnes, who's probably going to run these guards back again. Because the angles are quite nice for removing both the yellow, blue guards and also getting one of them in the house as well.
Geometry is key.
More mathematics.
Det enda du har bara max 50%.
Tänkte på övre, ja.
På den övre? Ja, på den övre.
Ja. Vi kan ta time då, eller?
It looks like they're going to take a time out here.
Bara för att få ner det så att vi har...
And
frågan, alltså det känns ju... Alltså den här är inte lättare här då att tappa om man går på den.
Den här är inte ens en gadd för den.
Nej.
Who's joining us from Canada?
Good morning to you, Wayne.
Well, good middle of the night to you, Wayne.
Ja, för vi får den ju ingenstans om vi kommer härifrån liksom. Då sitter den ju bara här. Så att om man kan...
Jag gillar bak 8.
De ligger ju då... de kommer ju oavsett ligga skott. Så att... ja. Tappa den så att den blir sämre så. Vad gör de då? Drar de en till här då eller?
So they're just trying to figure out what's the best way out of this situation just now. It's not a great situation. They need to try and look and get their 2 or at least a 1.
Ja, nej, jag tänker då att det bara ska vara för, men då har de ju samma jämn ändå.
Ja, men så har vi att jobba med det. Alltså,
ja, men då kör vi på det. Jag gillar den.
Alltså, jag bara så här,
spela en bak typ här då bara. Så att vi ändå kan trycka det så att det kan ligga andra sten.
Jag gillar det.
Eller? Gillar vi det? Ja.
So what have they opted for here?
Interesting call here for Hasselborg. They're changing their tactics now. They missed two clears of the guards in a row now, so now they're switching up and they're going to go for a back 8 weight, just come round and bump the one top 4 foot, just trying to get behind the tee to open up chances for maybe getting a 2 or at least opening up for getting a 1. I have to say I'm a little bit surprised because the angles are perfect for clearing those 2 guards and opening up and making it easier for yourself. You've got a great chance here if you make this shot perfectly. You miss this shot, then you're really behind the 8 ball. So a lot of pressure on this shot. This is certainly a key shot in this end.
From a psychological aspect here, do you think they chose not to clear because they've already missed it twice?
Could well be, and you know, the whole idea of taking command or taking the situation by the horns and going for it. So
Nej, upp, upp, helt upp. Johanna, gå.
nice way. It just depends if this is going to curl enough. That's a cracking shot from Agnes.
Well done, just what they needed.
That's an absolute peach.
Det är bra. Han kom ner.
You couldn't have played that any better.
Jag tror vi bara ska
Just
försöka
2 inches heavier.
But actually, it's quite irrelevant if they're lying second short or not in this case, because Pantera is going to draw around and try and lie 2 anyway. The key to that shot was getting the blue that was top 4 foot behind the tee and opening up a chance and opening up the 4 foot slightly for at least your 1. Sarah plays a couple of great shots here. You might even get your 2. It's nice to see Hasselborg changing up there and going a bit more aggressive and. As I say, you make your call, you got to live and die by it, but aggressive call and extremely well played.
So what is optimal stone placement now for Pantera with this stone?
Probably top of the button. The problem for Pantera here is even if they make it top button, Hasselborg have still got the yellow in that Agnes just played. So maybe even top 4 could be a better option here for them.
Fudging up on them, they called it top 4. Can they get it there?
It's the same again. The ice is starting to fudge up a section. This could be a really cracking shot here.
Fantastically played.
Well played, well swept.
So well judged from Jenny.
Yeah, I don't think they could have actually placed that much better, to be honest. Maybe 2 inches higher up. But now we're being picky. That's a fantastic shot.
Det är close, men jag tror oavsett att vi måste göra den.
Again, that's trying to keep the pressure on. So important to keep the pressure on all the time.
Kommer vi aldrig in här.
Jag skulle ändå vilja spela med lite fart så att vi får ner så att den här blir andra scen. Kommer man in här lite där? Jag kommer verkligen bara... Du tänker jag fast där.
Vi kan spela en clearing och bara försöka sätta en rakt på så. Ja, jag kan gilla det. Jag tror det känns lättast där faktiskt.
Alltså det viktigaste är ju att sticka den.
Ja. Nej men exakt. Och om något sitter där bak så är inte det hela världen heller. Men jag har min första var clearing.
So now the girls are looking at playing a clearing, maybe a 7-second hit. Try to catch that top yellow quite thin and spin maybe 2 or 3 of those blues out of there. Not quite sure of the angles. Looks like the blue that's lying short might just stick on that back blue.
The question on everybody's mind is there a quad?
Men jag kan gilla en 8 då.
No quad, but triple is what you're thinking, eh? If you hit it thin enough.
Alltså 8 mot 8,5 kan jag gilla.
Oh yeah, of course.
Gillar du det här då? Så jag tror inte att det kommer kalla så jävla mycket.
So they're talking about throwing an 8-second hit here, 8.5-second hit. More important getting the right angle in this than how hard you hit it.
8,5.
So I think they're looking at hitting maybe even less than maybe a quarter.
Ja.
And moving the 2 best Pantera stones back at the tee. Or moving one of them out and getting the other one back tee.
Vad sa du? Är det här bra? Ja.
That was the problem with Pantera coming a little bit, even though it was a great shot, it gives Hasselborg an out, or Team Hasselborg an out.
Den här från början då.
Just past the guard.
I actually caught that a little bit too thick, eh? And didn't move that back one at all. And now Pantera still line 2.
samma här.
It was certainly close to the guard.
It was very close to the guard.
För då, det är svårt även pappa
Just the drama we need.
Just that we'll have a bit of drama. You can get Shakespeare on SVT1, but you can't beat this for drama, right?
You most certainly cannot.
Gillar du, alltså vi var ju lite här.
Lite mer is den här gången.
Ja, precis.
So pretty much the same shot again they're looking for. Just get it on the button and if they can get it right onto that pocket there, then it's pretty much impossible for Team Hasselborg to get rid of it, which will be a stolen point for Pantera.
Looking a bit like a mixed doubles end this.
Yes, they're shaping up a little bit like that.
Lite mindre.
And Isabella played a lot of mixed doubles with her brother Rasmus. Used to these kind of shots.
Längre än förra. Lite mer.
Mycket mindre putt. Var med på linjen.
Var med på linjen.
Behöver rygg.
Har vi rygg?
It's a little bit heavy this one, but they are fudging towards the end and curling big.
Wow.
Looks like they're in pretty good, a little bit heavier.
Yeah, needing this
I
one
don't want to
stop.
move that back one at all. So slightly heavy there, and even though it was a good shot, they give
Båda känns lika. Och panga på en här går inte heller. Så fridrar med lite stöd.
they're giving Team Hasselborg the chance here to score one in this end.
Giving them a bit of a sofa, as we say in Sweden.
Sofa in English. Couch.
Alltså om du spelar T-line och så får de gå med lite sop.
It can be your Google Translate any day, Jacob.
Ta där.
And I'll be your dictionary.
Trycka en sten är bra.
Spelarna ändå liksom fart 10 liksom.
So they have their out, but this isn't an easy shot. You know, as we've seen in the last couple of stones there, it's really important to get that line and the weight just right. If they're slightly soft, the stone will take off and curl big on you, and it might go into either the guard or the yellow in the top four. If you're slightly heavy, it might run a little bit track and run a little bit straight on you. So weight and line critical in this shot, obviously.
They've had the privilege of seeing Pantera just playing it, so they should know what this path is doing.
Ganska mycket ed. Vänta.
It's been a couple of ends now that Sarah's had a draw.
Eka.
It's definitely a lot heavier and further out than Pantera's stone.
Nej.
And starting to grip now, 14-2, it's the same speed as Bella's last one. Just a shade too heavy, and that's going to be a stolen
A two, I believe.
one or maybe two. I think it could be two.
Är det 3 till och med?
We can have our Vic and Cher moment and not agree here. I think it's a two.
I think it's a two as well.
Oh. Seems that the blue is...
So it's two. They're giving up a two, yeah. And like we said, you know, you're just that shade heavy, and it just doesn't finish on you. Interesting to see the times in those last couple of shots they played there. Bella's first stone that she drew in there was a 15-2 between the hogs, and the second one was a 14-9, and then Sarah's last one there was a 14-3. So just that little bit more weight, and it just didn't finish up on you.
Yeah, the ice is very unforgiving when it comes to that matter of speed.
But again, we back up in this end, and you know the outside miss from Johanna unfortunately set up for Pantera, and they really got their end goal through this end.
Yeah, definitely.
And stealing a two is huge in the sixth end. Obviously now is one hammer each, but with being in the seventh and the eighth end now, so one hammer each, but Pantera has the 2-point lead.
And it's definitely a bit of a momentum shift as well. I mean, we've seen it go both ways now, but if there's any time in the game that you want it to go your way, it's now at the end.
Are you being Swedish understated now? That's a huge momentum shift. It's a seismic momentum shift. So end goal here, very clear for Pantera. Just throw it top four and let Hasselborg do some chasing and try and keep it nice and simple. It'll actually be interesting to see if they go top four or if they want to go guard and force the issue here to get the to get the hammer.
Calling it top 4 here, so they seem to be doing just that.
Because it could be the case that if they go top 4, Hasselborg might even just go for the blank and then go all in for 3 in the 8th.
Yep. Jobba dit sen. Hel 8, kom igen.
So this will be interesting to see what's called here.
Det var nog 15,5.
Corner guard it is.
Det kändes inte som 15,5. Nej.
Bra fart. Hake. Den har lite curl i sig den här.
Ja, lite kortare.
Ja, den curlar mycket nu.
Ska vi bara släppa eller?
Ja,
Lite
nästan.
mellan. Håll igen till.
This is taking a slightly different line. I think maybe slightly soft in the release and got it going early, and it just takes off from that line there.
Perhaps, yeah.
Det är bra, Pia.
Really important when the stones are newly scratched that you're quite active on your release and even setting them back up onto the line rather than letting it go soft, because otherwise they just go sideways on you. But I like that stone positioning out middle of the 12 foot. Quite often I find that teams tend to have their corner guards too close in and they cut their way off onto the 4 foot. So they cut off one hand. So it's nice to see you getting those corner guards out into the middle of the 12 foot. It's more like the 80s curling. When I was a kid and grew up, it was, corner guard was a corner guard. You got out in the wings.
Everything was better back then.
Music was better at least. Curling wasn't better. But corner guards were better in the 80s.
Hake. Bra linje. Hake. Hänger rätt rakt. Bra linje. Hake. Gå lite nu. Kort hake. Bra linje.
Speaking of backing up the stone there upon release, what does that mean and how does that compare on club ice and arena ice? Because we see a lot of pro players now preferring to slide a bit tight and then setting it back in.
So a lot of people talk about arena ice, but you have to remember it's arena stones as well, or the stones they use. I mean, the ice is slightly different in arenas than club ice, and they have, obviously in arenas they have bigger compressors, which means they can control the surface often better than they can at a club. But it's also the stones. You have to remember the stones are always newly scratched for an event. Obviously in a club you can't scratch the stones every week or every month. Well, you could, but then you're paying for new stones every few seasons, which is too expensive. So when you talk about backing up, you're talking about when you release the stone that you're trying to actually, you're making the rotation, but you're pushing it against the curl. Maybe even putting it back up a little bit. So the first half of the lane it goes very straight, and then it takes the curl at the end. It's also known as active release. There's a lot of different terms for it, but the basic idea is to make sure that you don't let it go, so it starts curling straight out of your hand, because then you lose it.
Positive release for Scottish.
Nej, jag förstår det. Den kommer nog ändå så här, bara vi kommer hit i alla fall. Trycka ner det lite.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to be coming off the release and pulling backwards. It's your follow through. But it's also not just moving it forward, it's moving it slightly against the curl.
Dare I say, a fine balance?
Oh, there it is, fine balance. We talked about the balance.
Pantera having set up this end really well.
Yep.
Well, you know, Hasselborg throws up the two corner guards, then you know it gives Pantera the free road just to get into the 4 foot and put a lot of pressure on them.
Det är bra fart, Jana.
I kind of caught in between there. They were trying to get round, and you know, if you're gonna go onto the guard, you want to maybe touch just a fraction more, because then you move the guard over to the corner, and you're gonna roll into the rings.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Oh, that was nice. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. I tried very hard.
You're here all weekend.
I am.
Yep. Whoa. Whoa.
Pantera sticking to their guns here in their game plan and starting to clear the guards.
Yeah, so pretty simple now that Pantera is just going to clear off those centre guards and Team Hasselborg has to work with these two that are in the control zone, top 4, top 12. They're going to try and move them around and try and bump them behind the tee line and to build some kind of sofa you were talking about? Some backing.
Exactly.
Lite läsare.
Igen. Japp.
Hasselborg opting for the same shot here.
Japp.
Genom själv.
Nej. Nej.
Genom själv.
Ren. Japp. Japp. Japp.
So a great weight on this. Just to get a slight roll off there. And you get it behind the tee line, behind the corner guard. That's a cracking shot from Johanna.
Nicely done.
Insida. Helt okej, vi går lite så också, men helst bara vicka så då.
We talk about the momentum shift in the game, and really, you know, obviously that was a huge momentum shift, the stolen 2, but on the same token here, you know, Pantera have to be careful. They don't want to, you know, give the momentum back now. So all of these shots, even if they're quite straightforward, the positioning of where they roll to and keeping control of the top of the house there is really, really important.
Yes, definitely.
Hårt för vicken!
Järnet!
Järnet!
And that is one of the key differences between good teams and great teams, is that they're not happy with just sticking around. They want to make sure they position the stones exactly where they want them.
Yeah.
To keep basically it's you're keeping your foot on the gas, or keeping your foot in someone's throat, I guess, if you're in an MMA fight or whatever whatever you might call it. But you never want to just free,
Don't want to be complicit.
No, but you don't want to just give the momentum away for nothing. You want to make people work for the momentum. So not a perfect roll here from Pantera, which means that if Agnes can make a nice little hack weight take and flop in behind the guard here, then they're going to get a bit of momentum back in this end. It's nice weight, but it's got to curl a bit. Just not curling up enough for them here.
So how come we're not seeing them sweeping directionally here?
Good question. You can ask them that between games. I'm not quite sure that the directional sweeping would have that much of an impact with that weight. I think they were just hoping, they were just waiting for it to grip and maybe take a turn there. As I say, we're in the 7th end, we're in that slide path, so.
Yeah.
Again, we can say, you know, the tendency in this game has been that, you know, there's been chances both ways, but it's been, you know, there's been a few misses here, there.
Yeah.
And then got away with one there, but again, we've got another. It's again, that's a momentum shifter. That's I would say that's a pretty big miss, because now you're opening up the opportunity for Team Hasselborg to try and get around that corner guard.
Vill vi någon se den då? Man vill ju ta sig hit liksom. Den är så jävla hög, den där centern.
Ja. Jag försöker vicka långa då.
Jag gillar på något sätt att försöka ta sig hit liksom.
Ja. 11.
Ja. Kan du tänka dig inifrån?
Det känns mest att du utifrån, men...
So they're playing they're talking about they want to get behind the corner guard, but because the blue center guard's a wee bit too high up and it curls a lot there, they feel the easiest way to get to that position behind the corner guard is to play this hit and roll. Again, it's about playing the shots that are easier for your own team and leaving a harder shot for your opposition.
Sorry.
Again, just on the wrong side of this.
Not the margins they need here.
No. They're both struggling just a shade with the ice here. It could be changing slightly. And it tends to be in these, well, you see in these middleweight shots, that seems to be those weights that they're struggling a little bit more with.
Yeah.
We had Johanna's miss in the last end, which was a kind of hack board weight shot, and then a couple of misses in this end where they're just on the wrong side or just on the nose hit instead of the roll.
It feels like also generally in curling, it's in these middleweight shots that you notice the change in ice conditions.
Yeah, it can be, but Or on the draw weight when you come up short against a 4 or something.
Been there, done that.
Ja, vänta lite. Nej. Wow.
11, 10.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels like this spot is just going a shade straighter than they're all thinking here.
And it's, what is it now? The 4th stone in this particular path, so it's going to be straightening out.
Just count those in my fingers. Yeah, it was 4th, I think.
Math teacher back at it again.
If we get past 5, then we're struggling, right?
Alltså jag vet inte om det egentligen blir svårare för dem.
Det känns som att den här känns så enkel oavsett. Jag kan gilla den här.
Jag tror att vi behöver vara typ, alltså vi har varit här när vi har dragit. Jag tror att vi kommer behöva gå in där kanske. Gillar du det?
Nej, precis.
So again, we make the hit there. Now you're giving Team Hasselborg slightly more cover, but they have to be careful where they position this one. If they go too deep and it curls a lot, then they have a straight, Pantera will have a straight run back. So they're talking about just putting it in top 8 foot behind the blue center guard to make it difficult to run the blue in the top 12, to make it difficult for the angle, and make it as far as possible from the blue center guard.
Yeah, both sides have struggled a little bit this end, but it still feels like Pantera has a quite firm grip on the end.
But that can all change with the skip's juice.
Of course.
Håll i den, håll i lite.
Linjen är bra, håll i om ni kan. 4.
A little bit tight for line here.
Bara linje. Ja, wow. Den kommer kolla över. Ja, den är 8-4. Vi lägger nästan bra.
Aldrig dra den. Nej, räcker. Fia, aldrig dra den.
Bra sådär.
So that's a nice shot. They just curled over just a shade too far again, which is going to mean that it leaves either the run back or the straight through the hole for...
Is there a hole?
Jag curlar inte skitmycket där alltså. Jag måste nästan curla lite första. Jag tror vi bara kör på den. Sätt is lite utanför.
Isabella was talking about the hole, but problem is it runs so straight here, and you release that slightly in, or if you roll it slightly, you could be either on the guard or hitting your own one in the top 12. So I think this is an easier call, and they've seen it running pretty straight here. So, anything from half to 2/3 to 3/4 of hitting the top blue. Half, third, 3/4 on the high side, and then they get rid of the yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Yeah. Whoa.
So slightly on off, looking fine here.
Nicely done.
And also the bonus to that is that they're lying around still, so they get the force.
Ja.
Vad vill du lira?
Vad sa du?
Hack eller? Sarg?
Ja, hack, sarg.
Ja.
Ja, men exakt.
So a board, barrier, bumper, sari in Swedish. Final shot of the 7th for Sarah McManus. Key shot to keep them in the game.
Definitely.
Yep. Yep. Sarg.
Ren.
Yep. Sarg. Ren.
Just keeping it clean, looking great. Nicely done from Sarah here. And that concludes the 7th. So tell us, James, as we head into the last end, what is important here for the respective teams? What needs to happen?
Well, again, I'm not the math teacher, but I know that Team Hasselborg needs to steal at least 1. Or a 2.
Or a 2. Maybe even a 3.
Yeah. No, so yeah, I mean, basically you're going to see Team Hasselborg go all in here to steal, get a steal of at least 1. And Team Pantera is basically going to try and keep the 4-foot region as open as possible to make sure they have at least a draw for the win.
Will we see some tick action this end?
Yes, we're going to see Fanny, the tick master, to try and get rid of those center guards.
Don't curse it.
Well, that's what she's going to be going for sure, anyway. it'll be interesting to see which way they tick here. My guess is they're going to try and tick the centre guard off to towards the to keep the in-hand path open where Bella has been drawing the last time we played down this way.
Great memory.
Like an elephant. No comments about the weight though.
You know, I was tempted. I must say.
I saw you thinking.
I was
Just
very
don't go
tempted.
There. Don't go there. Okay, so centre guard up. So let's see where. And this is actually a similar situation to the game last night that Pantera had the lead and had the hammer. Let's see if Fanny can make it. Yesterday she made a couple of cracking tick shots. Let's see if she does it again today.
Lite hårdare, gärna tunträff. Vi väntar lite, måste curla.
Jag tror det är bra fart.
Måste curla massor.
Mycket snurr. Ja!
Ja, hård!
Did they wait too long for this one?
That looks pretty good, I think. Ah, it's another cracking
Nicely
shot.
done. And not in the house.
Not in the house, yeah. And also, again, we're opening up that left side of the sheet. So, if you remember back in the sixth end, Isabella was drawing the 4 foot twice there, and she'll obviously want to keep that side open. If push comes to shove, she can throw one down onto the button for the game. They've been discussing this a lot actually now that the leads are getting so good at the tick that if you place the centre guard on the centre line, that it's a tick-free zone to basically eliminate, because obviously if Fanny manages to get this one as well, then the end's pretty much dead already. So that's one rule they've been discussing, if it's worth to do it.
Or we can just do a 6 guard zone rule as well.
Yeah, no takeouts allowed, any stones in any end, any competition ever. Now I don't know how. Where do you stop? 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean,
tick-free zone.
I think maybe they need to start looking at other ways of.
Oh yeah.
And I've even been talking about how to maybe work with the ice a bit more to make it less predictable and more difficult.
Are you saying that the players have become too good for the game?
Or the ice is becoming too good? Combination of both. That is a fantastic couple of shots.
2 in a row.
By Fanny.
100%. What a way to end it.
That is a couple of real belters there that makes it a lot easier for the rest of the end for Team Pantera.
I'm assuming that means it's something good. Belter.
Is that might be a Scottish word, as a belter. You never heard that before?
Oh, I have.
Okay, for me. Okay, there you go.
So Hasselborg is just going to keep putting up guards here, and Pantera is going to clear them. Hasselborg needing a mistake here, pretty much, to be able to build something.
Yeah, after those two fantastic take shots from Fanny, that kind of makes the end a lot more straightforward for Pantera.
Johanna Hedin here being asked to replace the guard.
Interesting. No, this is the. If we look at the other games that were played in the last series as well, this is about the third game in a row now that the game has kind of looked the same way. There's been chances for Team Hasselborg, but Team Pantera's taken their chances more, and that's why they're having a bit more success at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see this afternoon if anything changes. I mean, 2 games in a row, it's unusual to see partly Team Hasselborg losing 2 games in a row, but also the same kind of style of game, 2 games in a row.
Definitely.
Unusual to see it in the last few years.
Den är lugn. Jag vill bara få dubbeln.
Ja, bra.
Yeah, these professional teams nowadays are really good at analyzing the games after it's been done and trying to adjust their gameplay.
Halvjämna gard.
Här.
I would imagine that, even though there's nothing to play for in terms of a place at the World Championship or in terms of that, I would imagine that Team Hasselborg's not going to be happy with losing.
No, definitely not.
A couple of games in a row, or losing the last series, and then losing 2 games in a row here. I would imagine that's going to get them a little bit irritated at least, and come out fighting in the next game.
Ja, perfekt. Jobba ner den.
As I say, it's obviously been a tough week or tough couple of weeks for them now that the World's been cancelled. But even coming into the next Olympic season, you're probably wanting to keep the mental status of your competitiveness.
Oh yeah.
Still on fire. Mm-hmm. You don't want to lose that.
It's also very interesting. Just looking at Hasselborg's gameplay, because we're used to see them taking pretty big risks and doing very well when doing so. So when they have a lot of pressure on them, they deliver.
Yeah, as I say, it'll be interesting to see this afternoon. Yeah. I mean, the game's not finished yet, but
of course not.
But it's certainly going to be interesting to see if anything changes for this afternoon's game.
Feels like today their game plan has been a bit safer than we're used to see them play.
Yeah, perhaps that, and also now that Pantera's played them a few times in a row and had some success, then they're starting to learn how to play. It's almost like the artificial intelligence. You learn the whole time by playing the same situations, same teams, and you learn their tendencies. And Pantera's certainly grown into this.
Oh, absolutely. But that also is one of the factors that sets great teams apart from good teams, bringing that element of surprise and unpredictability.
That's right, throwing the curveball, as you would say in baseball.
Is that what
but just change it up a little bit. I think analytics has become a huge part of curling these days, but I think the element of surprise that you're talking about is a bit of a lost art, to be honest. Teams are kind of playing the similar kind of way, and you kind of know what's going to happen, and you don't see that many teams doing something just a bit different, which is a shame. And I think a lot of junior teams could actually learn from that by throwing a few curveballs and trying to do something slightly different, just throwing your opposition off a little bit. And I remember playing back in the day when we used to play a lot against Pea Lindholm and his team. It was always interesting because they would change it up quite a bit. You never quite know how they were going to come out and approach the game, and it always kept you a little bit on the
edge of your seat.
Oh yeah, a little bit on the defensive side. You weren't quite sure how they were going to play it. And I think if the teams become too predictable, then that becomes a huge disadvantage for themselves.
And that's interesting, as you say, because it keeps you on the defense and it keeps you focusing on the opposition's gameplay rather than sticking to your own guns.
Exactly.
Men ändå liksom typ en 10.
Nivået är ju okej.
Eller ska vi bara spela clearing? Jag kommer få era botdrag på sen. Ja, ta lite mindre då.
So we're down to the last couple of stones here from Pantera. Pretty simple task now. Just get rid of that yellow and get rid of one more. Mm-hmm. And for the last time today, I'm not the math teacher, but I know that's the way to win this game.
Isabella Wranå here with the first stone in this 8th end. Nicely done.
Timeout called again by Team Hasselborg, just to bank a bit of time. You see they've only got 55 seconds left, so that was more just a timeout to make sure they don't run out of time. The best they can do here is just get round T-line, show maybe a half, a quarter maybe, and force Isabella to draw. for the win.
Försöka ha den liksom nära. Eller det. Ja.
Last shot of the game here for Sarah McManus and Team Hasselborg.
Flowigare. Eka.
Samma linje, lite längre.
Ja, den rör sig. Den går rakare.
Ja, jag tycker det känns
Aldrig
Calling this one a
Hanna.
bit high.
Aldrig Hanna.
Känns ändå helt okej. Ja, lägg den här. Så länge ni är i boken, ni drar den. 14-5.
A lot wider line on this one.
14-5 on the clock.
So interesting place to put it. I mean, you know, it's not just an open hit, and well, it is an open hit, but it's a little bit tricky. You get on the outside, you might jam it on that back blue. It certainly puts the question into Isabella's head: do I draw or do I hit?
Vi kan köra en out-hand clearing kanske?
Ja.
Bara mitt på sten.
So they're talking about throwing an out-hand clearing.
Vill ni hellre dra? Vi drar.
Interesting here, I think, as well. This is one thing, you know, I'm going to guess that she's going to make this, but in terms of the process within a team, you know, you're kind of wanting to make your decision before you go down to the ice instead of just, you know, heading on down and making your decision on the hack, especially when it comes down to winning the game.
Definitely.
Känns bra.
Känns lite kort nästan. Nej.
But this is the same draw she played in the sixth end, so they know the line.
Kort ut!
Känns bra. Vart är den? Topp 4.
Den ligger fint. Inget slice.
Sounds like they've got good control over this one.
Just nursing it in.
15-5 in the last one. Nice shot by Isabella on the button for the win.
Well done.
For the second game in a row, 6-4 win.
All of the games here in the Sweden National Challenge being worth.
And there's me being the math teacher. It's a 7-5 win. I knew I was going to get it wrong at some point. Unbelievable.
But that's because we passed the number 5.
2-point win. That was it. 2-point win. Okay, there we go.
That's why it got so difficult. So all of the points here, all of the games here in the Sweden National Challenge, except for the skins game, being worth the same amount of points.
That's correct. So it's been a pleasure commentating you through this game today, this afternoon. Axel Sjöberg, Fanny's big brother, is going to be on with you, Jacob.
Yes. Yeah, we watched some great curling today. We saw a lot of momentum shifts. What do you think these teams will bring forward?
Well, I think Pantera will be happy with the way things are shaping up these two games. I think everything's working out nicely. They're taking their chances. And I would say that Hasselborg are probably going to have to change something up before the next couple of games, or we're going to see a similar situation this afternoon.
Yes. So for the game this afternoon, we'll start at 3 p.m. Swedish time, whatever that is in your time zone, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.